Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very first webinar where we're going to teach your child to read 101, okay? Um, there we go. So Nancy, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Nancy. I work with the Fort Worth Public Library as a public education specialist. I have been teaching parents for about 3 years now, but I've been in the early childhood field for over 20 years, which kind of gives away my age, but let's take it over to you, Maria. You go ahead.
Well, you're really good at it, okay? I'm also a public education specialist with the Fort Worth Public Library. I've been teaching parenting classes off and on for about 8 years, and I taught elementary school for 3 years. I was a kindergarten teacher, a fourth grade teacher, and then a fourth and fifth grade teacher. So I was teaching a bridge, and it was quite challenging, but it was pretty neat to be able to loop with my kiddos from the previous year. So I really like that part about it. Okay, so a few reasons for this webinar, okay? So this webinar is called Teach Your Child to Read 101. And why it's part 1 of 2, it's because in part 1, you're going to be learning about the fundamental tools to teach your child to read, okay? This one, part 1, will be focusing on babies and toddlers and what you can do to make sure that your child has the necessary pre-reading skills that he or she will need before starting to read. Our next webinar, Teach Your Child to Read 102, is going to focus on preschoolers and the reading steps and what you can do to make sure that your child is ready for kindergarten. Now, we wanted to make sure that this was in a simple format. You can watch it more than once. You can pause, rewind, fast forward, watch on your own schedule, okay? Because we know not everybody is able to attend our classes during the week, so we wanted to provide a different way where you can still prepare your child to read. Now, I know that I'm a visual learner, so it helps me when I can see examples or when I can read something somewhere instead of just hearing about it. Nancy, what type of learner are you?
So I'm more of an auditory learner. So many times I have tried to read something and it just doesn't stick for me. But if I listen to like an audiobook through our Libby app, I can totally retain the information more. So that kind of gives me the clue that I think I'm more of an audio learner than a visual learner.
Awesome. Well, we know that people have different learning styles, and some learn by hearing, like Nancy, some learn by seeing, like me, and others learn by doing, okay? So we'll not only be speaking during this webinar, but we're gonna offer a visual through the use of PowerPoint slides, okay? For those of you who learn by doing, well, even those who learn by like seeing and hearing, guess what? You're going to have to take what you've learned in this webinar and implement it with your child.
Yeah, so some things to consider when thinking about why it is so important for a child to start school ready for kindergarten. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that you need to know about, all right? So children who are reading successfully in kindergarten and beyond begins with positive language and literacy experiences from the time that they are infants. It is so important that we start the love of reading from an early age. If children can develop these pre-reading skills way before they start kindergarten, then guess what? They can focus on learning to read once they can begin school. So children who start kindergarten ready to learn to read have greater success through their school years. They are more likely to read at or even above their grade level by the time that second grade ends. So children who read at or above their grade level by the end of fourth grade are much more likely to graduate from high school and be successful readers and learners throughout their lives. And I don't know if you know this, but I found this to be very interesting, that children's reading fluency and comprehension in third grade is a huge indicator of the child's criminal history in the future. And I know you're probably thinking, wait, what? How? Well, this is because in third grade, children are learning to read. So in third grade and onward, children are reading to learn. So if they aren't reading on level by the time third grade ends, they are less likely to graduate high school on time. There was a research done in 2009, and the study was from the Northwestern University, and it stated that if students don't graduate from high school, they are 63 times, let me say that number again, 63 times more likely to be incarcerated than college graduates.
Wow.
Now, I don't know about you, but oh my goodness, was I so surprised. And I was like, you know what? I think we all can agree that this is such an important thing that we get kids ready to read.
Absolutely. Wow. 63 times more likely to be incarcerated. That's a
Yeah.
huge number.
Huge number.
Well, I guess we can all agree that reading is important. Okay, so let's talk about our objectives for today. Okay, I usually like to reduce the number of objectives because I'm not going to remember a lot of things, so we just have two. Okay, our first objective are to learn about the 5 practices to prepare your child to read. Easy enough. And then our second objective are to learn about pre-reading activities that you as a parent or caregiver can do with your child. Okay? So let's begin with the 5 practices that you can do to prepare your child to read. Okay? And if you want to do more research on this, you are free to look up Every Child Ready to Read resources. That's where we got most of our information from. And you're going to have a good time looking at all of this information. There's a ton of resources out there, but what we've done is we basically condense all that research into this short webinar for you. Okay? So first of all, learning to read begins before birth. Okay? Before birth, really in utero. Second, you're probably doing more than you think. Okay? Parents and caregivers, y'all can be hard on yourselves, but simply by watching this video or this webinar, you're showing that you care and that you want to do your part in teaching your child to read. Remember, you are the expert on your child. You are your child's first and best teacher. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Now, what are these 5 practices? Well, we've got them here: talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing. Hey, Nancy, can you show us the hand signals to help us remember these? I know that they weren't in a particular order, but what you did, your little mnemonic devices really helped me out.
Yeah, I know when I was trying to teach parents this, I had a hard time remembering what they were. And so I have a coworker, you know, Miss Olivia, she does a lot of our story times. She showed us how to remember them, because I'd be like, talking, what's the next one? So these 5 signals really helped me. So they're not in the same order that Maria has them on the screen, but you just need to know the 5, okay? So the first one is writing. So we're gonna use our index finger and we're gonna pretend we're writing in the air. So that's 1. Number 2 is talking. So we kind of put our fingers like this as we were pretending we're talking. Number 3, singing, la, 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 la. Number 4 is both hands together and we create a book as if we were reading. And then number 5, we bring down our 3 fingers, and this is actually the hand signal for play. So I'll do them one more time. So the first one was writing. Number 2, talking. Number 3, singing. Number 4, reading. And number 5, play. I thought those were easy for me to remember. What about you, Maria?
Those are cool. Those are cool. And then, like, sometimes when I'm missing one, I'll do them in the order that you said, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty neat. All right, cool. Well, thank you. So we're gonna go over talking first, okay? And talking with your child. Remember, we're talking about the practices, the pre-reading practices. But talking with your child helps your child learn spoken language. Okay, this is one of the most important early literacy skills. And why? Because they learn language by listening to you and joining in the conversation. So what does this look like? Okay, for babies, you want to talk to your babies as much as you can. Talk to them in utero, talk to them when you're carrying them around, when your baby is eating. Talk to your baby about the world around him. And will your baby respond? Absolutely, babies do respond. A baby's language is their facial expressions and like the goo goo gagaing that they make when they're responding to you. Okay, so let's check out how this baby responds through this quick video with a parent and her baby.
Be brave, be you. Be kind. If you say something kind or do something nice, then you will make someone's day without thinking twice. A gift from the heart, and then you will see being kind may take time, but the cost is free. When you ask for 5 cents, it is kind to say please, and please share your scarf so your friend doesn't freeze. Be kind to your friends when they want to learn. You might even get a big hug in return. Be brave. It's tough to be brave. When you're high in the sky, it's true, you may flop, but you also might fly.
Okay, so we don't have to watch the whole video, but I thought this was such a cute video, and I've seen this at least 10 times, and I always smile every time I see it because it's adorable, okay? Nancy, did the baby like the book? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, that baby so loves that book. I mean, did you hear how he would pound on that book like, hey, almost like if he had this language with mom, like, hey, talk about this, because he was just pounding on it, and then he would try to put the book in his mouth, and he was really attentive to her. If you notice, he would look up at her, wanting to know what is she doing, and then he would grab her face. Oh, that was just so sweet. Oh, you can tell.
The first time that they read together, you think?
I don't think so, because he's got a blankie, he's got mom's got a nice little area where she sits with him to read, and he does not look like it's, you know, any time to be wiggling around. He's really into that book. So I think mom's done this a couple of times.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, you can tell that like baby is like you said, calm. Baby's helping turn the pages. Maybe mom has like pointed at the pictures where you can actually hear pointing. So, but is this a good experience for baby?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a good experience for us just watching it. So imagine what he's getting out of it.
I concur.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a baby here. The baby's enjoying it. It's a routine for the baby. But as they start getting older, to like the toddler age, like about 1 to 2 years old, continue talking to them. Okay, talk as you're doing activities. Ask them simple questions. Okay, as this baby gets older, mom is going to ask him simple questions like, did you like that? Are you having fun? Are you tired? And make sure that you give them time to respond. Okay, because why? They're trying to process the information that they're receiving from you, and then they're trying to think about a response to give you. We can do that really quickly, right? Because we've had a lot of practice. But babies take a little bit longer, and toddlers take a little bit longer to respond. Babies take a lot longer, right? They don't have the language yet. Ask them, make sure whenever you have a toddler, ask your toddler questions about things that they like, okay? Stuff like superheroes, cartoons, foods, their favorite candies, their favorite games, anything that they like. Show them a picture and ask them to make up a story after looking at it, okay? For example, you can show them a picture like this, okay? And these are my 2 little puppies. And you can ask them, hey, what happened here, okay? And then you can see how your little toddler is going to start thinking up a story. And they use their imagination like crazy, right? So it's like, why are the puppies sleeping? Are the puppies mad? Okay, maybe not. What's that pink thing in between the 2 puppies? Maybe they were playing? Is that their bed? It looks maybe like it's their bed. It's somewhere where they're usually sleeping, okay? And you'll be surprised at the stories your toddlers make up. Something else that you can do is play telephones. Now, this is showing my age, but I remember when I was little, my mom would get a paper cup, put a little string through it, and then get another paper cup and put them together, and we would play telephones. You know, we would talk, and nowadays you can update it. You can, you can say something on your cell phone, and then your child can respond on another cell phone, okay? But they really enjoy that. Use puppets and start engaging your child, your toddler, with open-ended conversation, okay? An open-ended conversation is basically something that requires more than a yes or no, okay? So you can see that this little boy, he's super engaged with the puppet. Nothing else is bothering him. He is just focused on that, I want to say that little dog puppet, okay? Is he happy? Yeah, he's happy. He's enjoying his time. Mom is sitting there hugging on him. He's the happiest kid in the world, okay? Next, something else that you can do, you can talk to with your children, with your toddler, is you can talk to them about their feelings, okay? And keep in mind to just make sure that you label their feelings whenever they're feeling them. If you have a toddler who's crying, oh, I'm so sorry, you're crying. Oh, you don't look very happy, okay? Or, oh, you're smiling. You're happy? Okay, you're labeling those feelings, okay? Now, at this age, they need help to label their feelings, okay? Happy, sad, and mad are some of the most basic emotions that they'll experience. And with your support, teaching them about emotions is going to be priceless. Why? Because they learn about self-regulation, and they eventually become adults who are aware of his or her feelings.
I love this, Maria. I can really testify to even having kiddos in pre-K it's the first time they're leaving their parents, and they are crying. They are not happy. They do not know what's going on. They're confused. And so we would teach them at a very young age what they were feeling. So hopefully when you got them in kinder, they were able to identify those feelings, if they looked scared or if they were confused, that they were able to verbally give you those feelings instead of trying to guess when you've got kiddos that haven't attended any type of pre-K or haven't had parents who explain that they do have emotions and they're valid, emotions. So I think it's so important to teach them at a young age what their emotions are. And that kind of leads into the next practice, which is singing, because I know I like singing if you're happy and you know it. So that's a great song that you can start teaching them. But singing really helps develop their language skills. It slows down the language so that the child or your kiddos can hear the different sounds in words. So singing helps them learn new words and information. I know that there's this saying that the mother of knowledge is repetition, and singing will do this for you, which in turn helps you with logic thinking and sounds while having fun at the same time. So let's think about that. Let me ask you a quick question. How many of you learned the alphabet from the ABC song? I'm really confused. I don't know about you, Maria. Did you get confused when it came to LMNOP?
Yes, I thought that was a letter or a word. I was like, what? LMNOP? What is that?
I thought we went into like a different language because they would go so fast, LMNOP. And I'm like, wait, what happened? So for me, that was really hard to learn those 5 letters. But the reasoning is that because it is so fast, the song makes it go really fast. But if you just slow it down a little bit for them, so slow that part down, because we start off slow. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We start slow, but for some reason when we get to LMNOP, it's like la 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 la, and it gets really hard for them. So slowing it down to L, M, N, O, P. So just slow it back for them will really help them. So what does this look like? So if we look at this picture, what do we see? Let's just look. I see a female. I see 2. One's just a little older than the other. But look at the eye contact that they're making. That baby looks like she's pretty secure. What do you think, Maria?
Oh yeah, she's
safe.
The happiest baby.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see her full face, but just the side profile, you could see she's almost cracking a smile because she sees this other person smiling at her. So in this picture, it's actually a grandma singing to this baby. So singing to them, even in utero, is more important. I mean, I know that for women who are carrying babies and singing to them, that helps that baby recognize mama's voice. And having other people in the family have them hear their voices is also so important. I would have my babies, my older babies, when I was pregnant, have them talk to the baby in my belly. And by the time baby was born, he would look at his brothers and almost as I recognize it, I just don't know from where, but you get that look like it's familiar to me. And that's what we want them to recognize. So singing throughout the day, sing about things that you're doing throughout the day. What are you doing? If I'm cooking spaghetti, it was, I'm cooking spaghetti, I'm cooking spaghetti for dinner today. And then I would hear my boys doing the same thing, and they'd be singing, mom's cooking, she's cooking spaghetti today. There's no, where would we have invented that song, or where did we hear it? I just made it up. So even if you make up songs, folding the laundry for Johnny, whoever, it's just singing. It's that whole repetition that helps them with new words. We had laundry in there. What's laundry? Some kiddos, I've got teenagers that don't know what laundry is. So having them learn those words is important. Singing lullabies that your grandmother or great-grandmother sang to you, or great-grandfathers. You know, every language is so important, and every language is just such a beautiful, beautiful thing that helps the baby's brain develop so fast. So being able to distinguish between different sounds and languages and those experiences. And I don't know about you, but by the time a child is 3 years old, the brain has developed 85%. So let's just
That's a lot.
Yeah, we got to cram that little brain with as much information by the time they're 3. That's 85% of their little brains.
Wow.
And when we think of toddlers, what do? You know, continue that singing. Continue making the funny songs about spaghetti or laundry. Ask, you know, see how they react. Ask them questions. What's spaghetti? What's laundry? What's outside? Have them use instruments if you have them available. Microphones. Use a spoon as a microphone. I've used that. How many have used a hairbrush? I can rock a hairbrush and I'm a rock star. Or make your own. You know, in this picture, we have our librarian, Miss Olivia. We talked about her earlier with the 5 signals. Here she's created maracas out of toilet paper rolls. All right, toilet paper rolls. Now you can see this whole video on YouTube with the Fort Worth Public Library, but this is just one way. We've done other videos where we've used pots and pans, and we've used wooden spoons and metal forks, and we've created music with just using household stuff. So there's just so many different things that you can do, but definitely, you've got to sing. Sing. I know we sound silly when we're singing, but they don't care. They love it. They love it when we're silly. I don't know about you, Maria. Do you sing to your dogs?
Oh, I sing my dogs. I sang to my kindergartners, and they're like, sing some more. And I'm like, I don't have a good voice. And they're like, you have the best voice in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I like this.
Yeah, they think we're rock stars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, perfect. Okay. Well, that leads us into reading. Okay. So when you read to your child, it helps your child learn new words. Okay. Also known as vocabulary. So you're increasing your child's vocabulary just by reading to him or her. And it helps them understand better what they're reading. Why? Because you're reading it to them, and they can ask you if they have any questions, right? And if it's not forced, remember, if it's not forced, so it's got to be a good time for your child. So if it's not forced, children begin to build a love for reading. And when you read with them, it makes them want to learn eventually to read on their own. Okay? So what does reading look like? Okay, well, we've got the first one. I thought this was a really tender picture This is the father reading to his baby. And I know 100% it's this is his baby because the baby looks exactly like him. Okay? So first thing, when you're reading to your baby, you want to make sure to pick a time that's going to work for your child. Okay? Pick a time, usually like right before bed or when they wake up, when there is just a downtime, maybe before a nap, when they're usually tired, okay? Or they're usually a little bit calmer. Why? Because if you try to do this when they want to move all the time, it's not going to be a good experience for either one of you, okay? So we want to pick the best time and make it a routine so your child can learn, to expect it, okay? Make your own reading nook. The reading nook can be anything. A reading nook can be a place in the corner where you have a bunch of like little pillows or blankets on the floor. It can be on top of the bed. It can be in the living room. It can be anywhere, just as long as it's like a special place where your child knows when you go to that spot, they're gonna get to listen to a book, okay? Then you want to start off with board books and then soft books as well, because what's the first thing that babies do when they get anything in their hands? They put everything in their mouths, right? Because they're trying to discover the world, and that's just one of the things that they do. So pick books like board books, pick soft books, something that's going to last, okay? And it's going to, if they try to tear it, if you try to give them a soft book, they're going to tear them, right? But if you give them a board book, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to destroy that book. You can read to a buddy, like the two of you could read to their favorite stuffed animal. Here is a picture of two kiddos that have access to their books, right? So you have one kiddo who has his little bookshelf and he's moving so fast. He's got his book and he wants to read this book that when we were taking a picture of him, the book was moving because he was moving. He was like, I'm getting ready to go. I want to read this book, okay? Then you have the little kiddo on your right-hand side. He's sitting on his books. He's got so many books, he's sitting on them. And is this a good experience? Yeah, absolutely. You can tell that both of the kiddos are happy. They're happy, they're excited to read. One's like, I don't know which book I want to read, but I want to read them all, okay? Give them, if you need to, give them incentives to read. For example, a good incentive, I guess, at least for me, is if we read each night for a week, we get to go get some ice cream, on the weekend.
Oh, that's an incentive for me.
Yeah, I know. I'd read. Even as an adult, I'm like, oh, you take me to get ice cream every weekend, I'll read every single day. Okay? Read the puppets, like that picture that we had earlier. They love reading the puppets. They really do. They don't have to get shy. Puppets are not, they won't judge you. Puppets are just listening. Puppets love to be read to as well. Also, make it your goal to reach 1,000 books before your child turns 5. Okay, I know that seems like a lot of books. It's not impossible. It's a really good goal to try to reach. And the more books your child hears or reads by the time that they're in kindergarten, the more likely that they'll be ready for kindergarten.
And they're going to love to read. They're going to develop that love of reading. I remember that my mom worked so long and it was so many long days, the hours were so long and the days, and she worked out in the field. And by the time we got home, it wasn't going to the library. It was not. So I was thankful that back in Washington, we had a bookmobile. They would come out to the fields and the librarian would read to us. That's where I developed the love of reading. But I know my mom, if she would have known the importance of it, she would have read to us. But I still remember 4 years old and that bookmobile coming and me being able to sit inside where it was nice and cool and someone would read to me. And I think that's why I'm more of an audio learner, because
that makes sense.
I love the reading. Yeah, I love to be read to. I don't know why. I just love it. So that kind of goes into, the next practice, which is the play. So if you remember, this is the signal for play. Now, play is one of the best ways for children to learn language and literacy skills. It's not a waste of time like some of us think. I know my grandma would think, I you know, she's just wasting time with her head in that book. But it's not. It's totally the opposite. It is really a great way for them to use their time. Play helps children learn about language because it helps them put thoughts into words and then talk about what they're doing. So what does that really look like? So if we look at this slide, we can see that we've got a toddler. And in this case, this is Big Sister. And Big Sister is helping with building something, right? We don't know what it is yet, but you know, for babies, having these large, softer blocks will be better for them. As they get older into the toddler age, or what I like to call the waddlers, because they're just waddling around, the softer blocks are better because if they happen to trip and fall, it's just soft. It's okay, you know, because I have seen it numerous times where they build these great things and then they start to waddle off and boop, the castle has been disrupted and it is destroyed. So softer blocks for the little ones are great, but asking them questions. So find the story behind it. What are you building? Tell me more about it. Does your house have windows? How many? Does it have doors? I mean, you'll get some crazy stuff. They'll be like, there's no doors. You go in through the window or you go through the roof. They just will come up with great stories. You also, when you see this Big Sister playing with this little one, or when you see yourself playing with your little one, it pulls out the inner child from in us. So we love to pretend play. I don't know about you guys, but when I get those coloring books, I'm glad that they made them in adult versions because I love to color. Love it. You know, I can focus sometimes a little bit better when I'm coloring. I don't know why, but that's just me. So it brings out the inner child in us. Using stuffed animals. How many of you guys got stuffed animals for your baby showers? Or like Miss Maria, who's got stuffed animals for her doggies. So if she's got nieces and nephews or anybody coming to visit her, she has those things there and they can pretend that they're vets and that their doggies are needing some help and they're going to take them a bath or they're going to comb their hair or put bows. I don't know if they will let them, but poor doggies, they're surely going to be trying to get them to be in the veterinarian area and be worked on, which is great because what is that? I mean, those are future vets that we're going to have. So it helps them with future career goals. You know, you'll have some little girls that will want to pretend that they work at a beauty salon. Or we had, in some of our dramatic play areas, we had a mechanic station or we had a space station where they would put on gear and they were astronauts or they were mechanics fixing their parents' vehicles or fixing the school bus. So that just helps them have those creative ideas and get those wheels turning. Because remember, by the time they're 3, 85% of their brain has already developed. So we need to cram as much information as we can. So providing the dress-up clothes, you know, big shoes, dad's cowboy boots, or dad's work boots, or mom's heels, or her flats, or her hat, or her sunglasses. All those things are great ways that kids can use their imagination. Puzzles are another great way that help build that brain and cognitive skills. We've got a picture here where you've got kiddos reading. And then you've got this one where you've got gingerbread making. At least it looks like gingerbread, you know, gingerbread houses. But this is what we call an open-ended craft. And we say this because we gave them the tools, we gave them the supplies, but we didn't tell them exactly what it should look like. Because if not, all the gingerbread houses would look the same. If all the gingerbreads looked the same, where they had 4 walls, a roof, they were the same color, you used an M&M for the doorknob, then that's not open-ended. If the teacher said or the parent said, I want you to do this, this, and this, then it's not open-ended. If you just give them the supplies like you see here where they've got the plastic cups that has pretzels and M&Ms and gumdrops, they're able to create whatever they want. And if you can see, not one house looks like the other, I mean, you've got one that's standing tall, you've got the little girl who loved her gumdrops, and she had gumdrops all over her house. So those are other great ways that we can help them explore and be creative. We've got another picture, and in this picture, we have what's called a sensory box. Now, this is great for babies, but they do need to be supervised because there is material that, as we know with babies, the first thing they do is put it in their mouth. So ensuring that there's an adult nearby when you give them the sensory box for them to explore. So some of the benefits from learning about these different textures are that they can feel them with their hands. Most likely it'll go in their mouth, but that's okay. And then as children become toddlers, have them explain to you how you would use these different textures. How would you use this pink or reddish little feathery thing? How would you use this green thing? How do you use this black thing? So having them talk to you about it. Those are another great way. Talk to them and see, do they like those items? Do they not like them? What don't they like about them? What do they like about them? Can you add other items in there? Because I bet you they'll go grab something and add to that box. Now, these don't have to be purchased. This is just a box that Maria found, and she found a couple of stuff from her house, and she threw them in there. So we can do the same thing. I know that we could add stuff that are soft and some items that are rough or have different textures. That is just really the key. We want to have different type of textures, right, Maria?
Absolutely. And this one, I mean, I just came up with this little sensory box. It took me about 3 minutes to find the different supplies at my house that I had. I have the black thing right there is Velcro. So like it'll have like a harder texture as compared to like a little like scrunchie. The pink or purplish thing on the right is a scrunchie, and it's just softer. So you're comparing what's soft, what's hard. And you can ask the kiddos, like Nancy said, which one did you like? There's going to be some kiddos who like, they love soft things. Other kiddos, they prefer like a harder texture. I know whenever I'm going to buy clothes, or when I used to, I remember I'd like feel material, and I just let it call to me because I love just feeling soft things in my hands. So, so thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
So now that brings us to our writing practice, right? So why are writing readiness skills important? Okay, so these are pre-writing, really, what we're covering here, because remember, we're covering for babies and toddlers. Well, writing helps children become aware that printed letters stand for spoken language. So in other words, what we're writing has meaning, literally, okay? Your kiddos, once they start writing, they're going to become aware of how letters and how whenever you put those letters together, they will eventually have a meaning. And that's something that's a skill that they learn, okay? Now, pre-writing skills, they're essential for the child to be able to develop the ability to hold and move a pencil like with fluency, okay? They need to be able to produce legible writing, or writing that others can read, not just them, okay? So whenever we have these skills and when they're underdeveloped, what can happen is that the child could be frustrated. It can lead to fatigue. The child's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore, okay? They can't keep up. And it eventually leads to low self-esteem. And what's really sad is that one of my students last year had gotten very, very little practice writing. And the poor kiddo, was like, hey, and this student struggled a bit, but his parents worked with him a lot, and you would be surprised how quickly he improved. And his self-esteem improved, and it was like a different kiddo. So just by working with them, it can really, really help them out.
Yeah, you're right. There are some building blocks necessary to develop the writing, those pre-writing skills that will help them. Those parents worked with that little guy and was able to get him to not be so frustrated. So some of the things that you guys can do at home with your little ones are these are just some quick tips that you guys can try to do with them. We'll cover more in our next webinar that we have, but I wanted to talk about these 4. So the first one is hand and finger strength. So when we talked about playing and we talked about how kids, it's not a waste of time when they play, and giving them Play-Doh is a great way to strengthen these muscles. These muscles are crucial when it's pre-writing, okay? So having them use those muscles, we want them to use Play-Doh, puzzles, all those different things will strengthen those muscles to get them ready to grasp and be able to control the movement when they're ready to hold a pencil. We also want to talk about, the second item is crossing the midline. So the ability to cross that imaginary line running from the person's nose to our pelvic, and that divides the body in from the left. You know, it divides us from left to the right. Okay, so when we read and when we write, we're left to right. Okay, the third is pencil grasp. So the efficiency of how we hold that pencil. So allowing the age-appropriate pencil movement is so important. Now, when you've got babies and you've got some toddlers, the younger toddlers, they will grasp like this. And some of those babies will hold on to that object like you're not taking it away. Hey, it's like, I'm holding on to it. So you get a lot of babies and toddlers that start like this. They scribble like this. So these types of pens or pencils is really hard for them because they're trying to hold on for dear life. And so you're not going to get a lot of movement. So we try to look for, you know, those jumbo size markers or those jumbo size crayons, because that helps them loosen up that grip, because it's like a death grip. They're not letting go. And as the toddler gets a little bit older, then we start teaching them to move this way. And then we move into a different size of pen or pencil. But that pencil grasp is really important. But they need to strengthen those fine motor skills. And, you know, Maria was talking about turning the pages. That's using those muscles to move one page to the side and the next one, or when they try to grasp something and they put it in their mouth, they're strengthening those muscles. So that will help them with the pre-writing. And the last thing is that hand-to-eye coordination. So the ability to process information received from your eye control and guide and direct the hand to perform whatever task you want them to do when it comes to writing. So when we use puzzles, that's another way that we're using that hand or the eye-hand coordination. We've got the puzzle piece, we see where it needs to go, and then we're going to try to manipulate that piece to make it fit. So that's them using that hand and eye coordination. So those things are very important, Maria.
Wow. So we've given you all a lot of information. Okay. Yeah. Now, what can you do to help your child, right? Because that's what this webinar is for, to give you ideas about what you can do. Okay. Well, let's start with scribbling. Okay. So this isn't a baby, right? But for babies under supervision, put a crayon in their hand. Okay. Have them scribble on a sheet of paper. They're soon going to discover that what they're doing with their hand is coming out on paper. And when you see that, you're like, oh, like you can tell in their faces, they're like, wait a minute, I did that. That was me. So I have control of this. Yeah. Yeah. And then as they get older, like with this little toddler, as your toddler gets older, you want them to develop their fine motor skills. And what are those? Those are the little, like the small muscle groups to move your fingers and your toes. Okay. And now toddlers use their fingers to perform tasks, and really adults too, such as like writing, picking up small objects, brushing their hair, when you're opening a door, when you're playing a musical instrument, when you're opening container, you need that fine motor strength too. And then you're opening jars, those help a lot too, okay? Now, just keep in mind that their hands are still growing, okay? And all these activities for your kiddos aren't gonna be easy for them. They'll need practice. They'll need a lot of practice very often. And their hands are going to hurt because they're developing those little tiny muscles. Okay. So what else can you do to help? Well, you can do activities such as lacing toys. Like right here in the middle of the slide, we have a little girl who's just lacing up, like I want to say like a little heart or something. But you don't even have to make it like that. You can just get a paper plate. You can use a hole punch or even a pencil, make little holes and get some shoelaces and just have your child lace up the paper plate. It's super easy, fast, and it'll keep them busy, and it'll help them develop their fine motor skills that they really, really need, okay? You can, like Nancy said earlier, use Play-Doh. They love using Play-Doh, and guess what? It's a double plus because they're having fun and they're developing their fine motor skills.
Mhm.
You can use sidewalk chalk to help exercise those motor skills. And help the wrists also with their movement. I like this one. You can have butcher paper, okay? And really, this was, we were reusing packing paper that came in a big box. And I was like, no, don't throw it away. So what we did was we opened it up, we taped it on the mirror, and the kiddos were having a grand old time. Like, they loved.
Fun.
Yeah, they were having fun. I was having fun just watching them doing, like, having all these writings and drawing, and yeah, it was a good time. Just make sure that you have that available for your child. It's really inexpensive and it's a lot of fun. Okay, and it actually, if you have a place for them to draw, they're less likely to draw on your walls. Okay, I'm just saying that. It's not like mine did that, but yes. Now, here are some more writing activities, and you can always put us on pause or rewind, but we wanted to just have these listed out for you, like as activities that you can do with your child. So one of the things that you can do is you can cut geometric shapes out and use those different shapes to make a picture, like a robot, a small house, a car, okay? You can use tongs or like little plastic tweezers to pick up small objects. Again, they're going to be getting a lot of exercise on their fine motor skills, which is good, okay? You want to draw, just like the previous picture, draw on a vertical surface, okay? That helps them basically go, what is it? They have to work harder to write. There we go.
It's that left to right, right?
Exactly.
We're going to use that midline, left to right.
Exactly. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
Now, this one. Practice drawing the pre-writing shapes. Now, Nancy told me about this, and when she told me, I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Can you explain these shapes?
Yeah, it is. When I learned this, I was just like, it was like those aha moments. Because, you know, when you think of teaching littles, you think, how am I going to teach a baby about shapes? How am I going to teach them about letters? Yes, we could show them. If you're a visual learner like Maria, great, they're going to learn the letters. But how are we going to get them to start practicing how to create and make those? So we talked about scribbling, but when we're scribbling, we want to start to focus on these simple pre-writing shapes. So we've got, the first one is a line that goes up and down, a line that goes side to side or left to right. We have an O or a 0. We have a plus, which we've just connected the other two letters, or the other two lines, excuse me, to create the plus. Then we have these slanted lines. We've got 2 of those, which then help us create a square, right? Because if we make these lines side to side, up and down, we've created a square. We've got these lines that went, what is it, horizontal or to the side, diagonal. We've created an X, we've created a triangle. So all these lines create shapes. Now kids need to learn how to create the shapes first before moving into letters. I think we've also learned how we get some parents who are like, oh, my baby didn't need to crawl. They went straight to walking. But they've missed a huge milestone, right? We want the babies to crawl before they walk. So we want babies and toddlers to learn these pre-writing shapes before we move into them actually learning to, draw the letters. So these are great. You just create these lines and have them practice it. So if you've got a notebook, just draw lines and have them say, just draw these lines. And they start drawing those lines. Draw me these circles, bubbles. I always call them bubbles because it kind of relates. They love bubbles. So make me some bubbles. And
And we got this activity, and they really do like it.
yes, yes. I mean, we can create a person just with these lines. I would love to look like the person that I created with these lines. But it's a great way to start teaching them those pre-writing shapes. I love this one.
Thank you, Nancy.
Mhm.
It's like the play finger games. Those are basically like you like when you're using your fingers, like this little one said this little one said that, or you can use like the little itsy bitsy spider that we remember from the times when we were little. You're using like your coordination, and it's not so easy when you're a kiddo. It's a lot easier when you're an adult, right? You can do open-ended crafts. Now remember, open-ended, does that mean parent or caregiver should be doing the activity? No, no. The child should do the activity. Like Nancy said earlier, if you want the supplies, you can do your own activity, but just make sure that your kiddo can do his or her activity. Okay? And then using building blocks to construct. You really, like for the younger kiddos, we would suggest using like the bigger blocks. It's a lot easier for them, and it's a lot safer than the smaller blocks, okay? Like Duplo, Legos, or you mentioned Mobilo blocks?
Yeah, I mean, even if you used, like if we're thinking of babies, you know, how many times do we go buy shoes and we have shoe boxes, right? And you've got for little baby shoe boxes, you've got the older kiddos boxes, and then you got the adult size boxes. Or if you're like me and order stuff from Amazon, or you get stuff shipped to the house, you've got different size of boxes, right? So sometimes you don't even have to go buy those expensive Legos or Duplos or all those. Just use simple boxes. Even them stacking them, having them put them from smallest to biggest, those are just simple ways of just stuff that you already have in the house. I love that one.
I remember, like, you know, whenever we would get gifts for like some kiddos, and they wouldn't even look at the gift. They would look at the box, and they're like, they're playing more with the box than they are with the toy that we got them. So yeah, definitely those boxes, they are cheap, sometimes even free. Keep them, and they're good for writing activities, okay? So why we're doing all these activities when most of them don't even have to deal with writing? Why are we doing them? Well, because again, you're helping to develop their fine motor skills. Okay? So now that we've gotten done with the 5 practices to help prepare your child to read, that's objective number 1. Now we are going over our second objective, and we're almost done, okay? And this is to find pre-reading activities for parents and caregivers, so for activities that you can do with your kids, okay? So your baby until your toddler. So that's about 0 to 2 years old. So what does that look like? All right. Well, for babies, make sure babies have books that are available for them, okay? We remember that video from the beginning of this webinar, that baby was read to all the time. Soft books and board books are the best for the little babies, okay? As you're reading to the babies, make sure and touch each picture. So I like to give this example when I'm teaching parents and caregivers. Whenever you're reading a book to your baby, point loudly. That way you're gaining their focus on what you're looking at. You're like, oh, look, here is a dinosaur, look. And then your baby will go to wherever the sound is. So that's pretty neat, okay?
I'm wondering, Maria, if that's what that mom had learned from us, because that baby was pounding on that book in that first video.
I think so. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool, you know, because the baby was like, hey, I'm focused on this page.
Yeah.
So I wonder, So respond when your baby makes a sound, okay, as you're reading. So again, in that first video, that baby was using his language to talk to mom, right? And then was mom responding? Yeah, mom was like, yeah, mom was loving it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mom was loving that baby was having such a good time, and baby was loving that mom was having such a good time. So encourage your baby to mimic your sounds, the words that are coming out of your mouth. Have your baby mimic those sounds. Itsy, itsy, okay? Slowly but surely, you're teaching your baby just how to say certain words, okay? Remember, name the world around your baby. Name the different objects around the house, when you're going out for a walk, when you're at different places, they'll love it. Remember, the predictor of a child's fluency in reading when they enter school will be recognizing letters and their sounds. So get to teaching while your baby's brain is working, okay? So we've got the babies. Now, as your baby becomes a toddler, continue reading to them, okay? It's still important. It's not even more important. Continue naming and pointing to different things, different pictures. When they have questions, trust me, they're gonna have questions, lots of questions, and they're gonna be questioning everything. It's a good thing, right? Because they're interested in the world. The world is new to them, so they wanna learn about it. Make sure you answer their questions, okay? Have them help you by turning the pages. So we already saw in this little picture right here on the upper left-hand corner of the video of the mom and the baby, you can already tell that that baby is ready to turn the page. He's happy, okay? Same thing with the baby in the bottom. The baby with the orange shirt, he is just loving it. And then the other baby with a blue shirt, he's really focused on what his caregiver, I think I want to say his little sister, or oh, not little, older sister, is reading to him. As they get older, they're toddlers, make sure that they know the different parts of the book. Every time you read a book, you name the front cover, the back cover, and the spine, okay? Read again, and keep on reading their favorite books, okay? This is a really good thing, okay? They're showing that they love to read. They're showing that they're enjoying whenever you're reading to them. Sometimes when you read a book, you can skip a few pages and you're like, okay, but when you read the book over and over again, they know when you're skipping those pages. Okay?
They'll catch on.
Oh yeah, they catch on. They're like, wait, you skipped, the book is like 20 pages. You skipped that page about, when this was happening to that character, okay? So why are they doing this? Well, they're trying to remember what happens in the book so that they can eventually read it to you, okay? So again, it's a great thing for them to want to hear stories again, okay? And it's also spending time with you. They like to spend time with you. They like to spend time with their siblings, with other adults. They enjoy that attention, okay?
They do. Well, we covered a lot, Maria.
We sure did.
I hope that this helps you guys. We are here to help you as much as we can. We are here as a resource for you. I know Maria and I enjoy creating these types of webinars and videos for you because we want you to be informed. Maria talked about it earlier, where you are your child's first and best teachers. When they get to school, yes, they're teachers, but you know what? You are the first.
Mm-hmm.
Always be the first, and you will always be the best. We want to thank you for watching. Please don't forget to check out the Fort Worth Public Library Early Childhood Literacy Facebook page. This is where you're going to find out when this video and other videos air. We've got story times in English, story times in Spanish. We have bilingual story times. We have create story times. We have story times galore, but we also have other activities and videos that show you different things. We've got maker spaces and all kinds of stuff. So please don't forget to check that out. Also, stay tuned because we have the part 2. This was just part 1. I mean, this was just babies and toddlers. We still got to get to the other guys, you know? We can't leave them behind. So that will be your Teach Your Child to Read 102. So don't forget to check us out. Make sure you hit that like button because then we will be able to come and give you more videos just like these. So where we are here, Maria and I are thankful that you guys can watch this. If you do any of these activities that we talked about, please take a picture and make sure that you tag us. Remember, it's the Fort Worth Public Library Early Childhood Literacy Facebook page. We would love to see what you have done, right, Maria?
Absolutely. I enjoy looking at those pictures. Like, share our video. If you know anybody who could benefit from it, share with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.